So this is an official welcome to the session, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Again, this is Kathy, and I'll show you around this email customization session using HTML tools today. At a very high level, you're going to see me inside of the email manager. That's a part of version 20.3 software. From there, I'll go into the email templates table. That's the table that stores your email records. And from there, we take a deeper dive and actually look at the HTML and dynamic content using the HTML preview. And the assistant, as its name suggests, is your assistant that helps you find the right KPL functions to include inside of your emails. This is a visual of where we're headed inside of dp2. Welcome to those of you still joining in. This is Kathy. I appreciate you being here. I did give this an official start at the top of the hour, so you haven't missed anything yet, just this overview here. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to go to the Events tab in dp2 when I switch over, and on that Events tab, there is an email manager. Some of you might see, do any of you see a big blue cursor, or do you see my skinny little cursor? If you see a big blue cursor dancing around your screen, give me a hands up. Yeah, you see my skinny little cursor. Well, I'll try to draw your attention to where I am on the screen, both by circling that little cursor and also kind of directing your eye to the upper right or lower left as I need to. So anyway, this email manager task, everyone, is the second task on the events category. That's a new category in 20.3. When you press that, it opens up the email manager. Makes sense, huh? 3 tabs there. I'll go over those 3 tabs. The setup, which is the communication with your email server. The templates, which has just a single button that launches this templates table. And then I'll give you a quick peek at the text messages information that we have for you built into this email manager if you want to send emails as text messages. So when you do press this Manage Email Templates button on the Templates tab of the email manager, that will indeed open up the dp2 email templates table. And this is a record that stores your email. It stores your to, your from, your CC, your BCC. It stores your attachments, your macros that perhaps call in an attachment. And then when you double click on one of these records, guys, in the dp2 email templates table, when you double click on one of these, or when you hit the edit button that's here, one of the buttons on the top of the table, that in turns open up the HTML preview window. That's where you see the real contents of your emails. And it's the same for reports, guys. I'm concentrating on emails in this session, being that sending emails is a new part of 20.3, our latest release, but you know, kind of the same messages will apply if you're customizing reports. Many of you, I can tell many of you on the line, you've been a part of Tom Aplin's sessions when we held them in Rochester, where he held very, very similar sessions to what you're going to see here. So just a heads up, the HTML preview and assistant tools have not changed, but for those of you that know those tools real well, I mean, don't go anywhere. I feel like I'm an airline attendant telling you at this point what we're going to do. And, you know, if you're not in the right place, you know, you could get on another subject or track or plane, but stick around, because if you are familiar with these tools, ask your questions in the question box and I'll run those by Tom if I need to, and I'll get back to you. So we want this session more than anything to whet your appetite for more, and for you to let us know how we can help you implement anything that you need with emails in your workflow. But anyway, by opening up a dp2 email template record, that does open up the HTML preview. This is your HTML. These are your KPL commands that do get translated by your dp2 HTTP server that returns those results, in this case also in the preview window, but of course in a browser and in an email window. So let me go through here just one more slide and then I'm going to jump over. I'm going to show you how to install the default dp2 emails that are now a part of 20.3 software. I'll also show you how to remove any KC2 emails that you might have installed in your system. This is really important, copying those default emails before editing. we don't want the default emails to get overwritten on you when you install a new version of dp2, but they will. So we don't want you modifying the default emails and putting your hard work and energy into them only to have those overwritten when you install a new version of dp2. I'll take a closer look at the email templates table. You'll see the two from subject lines can be modified there. From there, we go to the HTML preview and assistant tools. I'll give you a good, hopefully working overview of those. You'll see how to access the KPL functions that you need. All of this builds up together to help you modify these email templates. Here's our little guy that should be getting royalties for how much I use him in these presentations. So let's go do this. I'm going to jump over to dp2. Everyone see my dp2 screen okay? Can I check in with you guys again? Just give me that hand raise if you would. Yeah, awesome. Leave it there, you guys. I'll clear it. I do like to kind of just pause here and make sure everybody's with me. I see a few more of you have joined the session, so welcome. I'm just getting into dp2 now. I kind of set the stage, so thanks for those. I will check in with you guys a couple more times throughout the session. I just think it's a good way for us to check in with each other and make sure you guys are doing okay. So as is customary, the first thing that I like to do is show you the help menu and the contents and what's new in the latest version of dp2. It is under email, the email manager, the email template help links are embedded like within the auto notification using events category. I can tell several of you were on my first couple of sessions that I ran on event management. You know, that's a kind of a fast moving target, by the way, you guys. We're doing all sorts of good things. So I think we're going to have another event management session coming up in here within the next few weeks. So at the end of this session, I'll show you the page where you can keep your eye on the service portal for up and coming additional micro learning sessions. So we want to keep these rolling based on your input too. At the end of this session, you're going to have a short survey that comes up. If you don't mind, take the survey. And at the end of it is an open-ended question that says, hey, you know, how we doing, or what else can we help you guys with? Use that comment box for anything that you would like to request or share with us. Anyway, here's your links to what I'm going to show you, but I don't spend a whole lot of time in the help menu during this session. I just want you to be comfortable to know that it's there. Press your F1 key, of course, on the dialogues to get to this same content I got here from going to the What's New link under help. All right, so let me get things started here. Let me go to the events category. After you install 20.3, you will have to load your tasks and macros, and you'll have a new events category. It's a short list to get events set up, but I'm going to concentrate on emails. Emails can very well, you guys, be a part of your events, and those events can trigger based on something. And then the email that's a part of that event can be sent based on an order received or order shipped or whatever it is. I'm not going to tie all of those pieces together in this session. At the very end, after I've spent some time modifying an email, I will wrap things up by going to an event in the event manager and just reminding you how you can set that email as your KPL action. That's a part of the event, but this is not the session that really ties the email with the event. We have that recording on the service portal on our training page, on our micro learning page, so you could always access that. So I just pressed email manager. That in turn opens up the email manager tab. There's three, or function here, there's three tabs here. The setup tab, this is where you set up communication with your email server. You might have to call on your IT folks to help with this setup. Pretty simple, straightforward here. This is where you can contact the email server and get, you know, the response that you're communicating. This is where you can send an email. I can't talk and type very well, but I will put my email in here. You do need a to and a from. If I tried to send it, it would tell me I need a from also. So I'm just pasting that there. I'm sending it. I get success here because this communication with our server is all set up here. On the templates tab is where just a second, I will open up the email templates table. And then I just want to show you this text message tab first. This is where we put a whole lot of helpful information based on mobile carrier, SMS, or MMS formats that you want to send. Also, a relatively new field, guys, in the customer table is a text message email field. That's another field in your database, specifically the customers table, that you could use to store the text message email format for, maybe primarily you use text messages for internal communication to your employees when, an order is received, or when there's a printer error message. You might send some text messages to customers as well. All of this is always up to you. Who do you send it to? How do you send it to them? Where is that either email address or text message email address in your database, and what are the contents of the email that you're sending? That's what this is all about. So again, I got to this email manager tab from the events category. I just also want to show you that on the admin taskbar, we do have the email manager link there as well. Sometimes it's good to know a couple of different ways to get to the same thing in dp2. You guys know in many cases there's several ways of getting to the same place in dp2. I'll go back to the events category. I can kind of sit there. Let me open up the manage email templates table, and I'm going to keep things clean along the way. I normally don't do that in my working environment, but I'll try to do that in this video to keep things kind of focused and clean, so that if you go back and look at this, it's not a mess of tables on the screen that you're looking at. So your dp2 email templates table, guys, it might be empty if you've never used this before, if you've never brought in any KC2 emails before, or if you have not brought in any emails in 20.3. So I have a list of emails that I've already installed. These are the default ones. There's 3 that say generic, and there's 2 that say printing failure. A couple are set up as text messages. So basically they're kind of stripped out of all the fancy HTML stuff, and it's just plain text that gets sent via a text message. But this is the table that stores the record. The record is linked to the HTML that has the HTML and the KPL functions, the dynamic content that you want returned when you send the email. This is also the table, guys, that stores the to and the from. It can store multiple tos and froms, and with a comma delimiter, you can use multiple macros in here if you're storing email addresses in different place. It's also the subject line. I'm just going to cancel that. I'm going to show you how to create a new one. Under the actions button, or if you right click, this is how you can import the new templates from, here's the directory, no surprise there, right? Scripts, HTML pages, email templates. That's where we install these sample generic emails to get you started. I have a couple of additional ones in my table here that I have really primarily created by starting with one of the generics, because the generics have really good stuff in them. So I will show you that for a start. And then I have, what's this one doing? I have a digital down, this is just kind of to whet your appetite, right? I have a digital download ready email that looks in some folder, and then there's a macro here, or maybe it's a combination macros that says find this attachment based on a couple of things, probably customer ID, order ID. Really, I'm just pointing out to you this attachment column, guys, here. I'm using, I think it's a process after script that I'm currently using in my export images dialog box, you guys, that renders, that creates a zip file, and then I'm looking for that particular order.zip file as a part of this email when it gets sent. But those are 2 custom ones that I created. Again, I thought I would just mention those, not for so much to get into the detail of that, but to kind of whet your appetite, and to also show you, in the video, kind of how I've set those attachments up here via some macros that look for those rendered items, whether it be a single image or a zip file of images. You're welcome in that question box to say, hey, send me that process after script. I want to know how to zip up my images. We have added some, it's not in your version of dp2 yet. It will be in a subsequent version of dp2. We do have code that Tom has recently added that will do a zip of images from an event action. So we're giving you a couple of different ways to access that code, but right now there's a process after script. I'd be happy to send that to you guys with your other questions if you want. So anyway, upon importing, this is the short list of sample emails that you get, but they're really great. I want to show you, this is probably one of the most important pieces of this recording, I think, is we don't want you to, I'll double click on it, and this will open up the HTML preview. I'm just going to give you a quick look at this first time. This expands to the HTML, KPL function, kind of like macros, to the dynamic content that your dp2 web server returns based on some parameter that's being passed through. This is the stuff that comes after your question mark in your URL. But anyway, we don't want you to spend your your time customizing this, you know, one of these generic ones, because again, if you install a new version of dp2, guys, we're going to overwrite that. So at least that's the way it's happening right now. So I want to show you how to do a new record in here. So I'm going to call this, let's call this your lab order received. We'll kind of hang out on the order received example in here, and I'll put that in an order received type category. I'm going to show you how those types play out in your order data table, and then I'm going to save it, but nothing exists in it yet. If you want to share the content from another one of our samples, this is how you do it. You would select the new one that you just created that is empty of anything, and you would select the one of our samples that, or one of your previous samples even, that has HTML and KPL functions in it. And then you right click, and here's the function to copy the HTML template file from one to the other. You can go forward or you can go backward, but going from 2 to 1, the second one doesn't have anything in it. So it would only make sense for me to choose this copy 1 to 2 because it's this generic order received sample that has the good stuff in it. Are you sure you wish to copy? I'll go through some of these dialogues kind of quickly, you guys, just in the interest of time. You can always get back to this video, stop, look, watch, do on your own system, and pick back up. So now this is the one. I'm going to double click on it again. I'm going to come back here again just to kind of show you this kind of working flow here. Now it's the one that is the lab order received. We're certainly not going to overwrite this one. This is the one we want you to spend time editing and modifying and making it your own. This is a drop down of all the other emails, guys, inside of that, you know, email templates directory, inside of scripts, inside of HTML pages. So you can bounce around and get to other emails this way as well, but I'm showing you the double click method. So this is one way to kind of start an email. You might like some of the stuff that's in, you know, this email to get started with. You might get rid of it and replace it with your own. This is another way, guys, to start. So I'm back in the email templates. I'm just going to call this my lab test email, and I'll also put that in the order received category, and I'll enable it. And then I'm going to save it. This is what happens if you double click and you have not previously copied HTML from another email that has contents in it into this one. This is what we'll do to give you pretty much a blank working slate with just like the class to include and the signature line for your lab information. It's really, you know, very basic, bare bone basic, but this may be your preference of starting out with an email, you know, that really doesn't have anything in it. So I'll work with both of those actually. I just wanted to make sure in this session, in this recording, that I'm showing you guys both ways of doing it. you know, selecting your new one and an existing one, oops, with the control key, not the shift key, and right clicking and doing that copy HTML template, or not doing that copy HTML template and just creating it, saving it, double clicking on it, and we'll create some very basic HTML contents for you there. Couple of other things here I want to show you before I get to the HTML preview. How are you guys doing, by the way? Can I ask you for, if you want to check in with me with a high five, with a hands up? You guys doing okay? I mean, I never want to force you to give me that, but it is a great way for us to just kind of check in and make sure that you guys are here and getting it so far. So perfect. Thank you for all those. I will put those hand raises down and I will ask you guys for those again, just to have a chance to check in with each other. So back here, I wanted to show you, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to close these up and just kind of focus on this for a second. I want to show you, I have my select order with my test 005 order in it. I'm going to open up the order data table, and I have my windows set to remember their size and location just so that they're smaller on my page, and my interface is a little bit neater for you guys to look on and watch the video when you come back. I just want to show you that completely independent of events in dp2, well, maybe other than the printing failure, because you're going to want these printer failure messages when your render engine fails. You're going to want that to be tied to probably an event that then triggers a text message or an email to someone. So those might behave more so as part of events. And these emails might also be automatically triggered when, you know, or sent rather, when an event is triggered. But I just want to show you how the right click in the order data table, we have the send email function there. And this is completely independent of any events that might have this email HTML as part of the KPL action and code. So you can get to all the, I created this attachment emails category. So I just want to show you the relationship here, that's showing up as one of these email categories. Order received has a few different emails in it. Order shipped has the generic one. And then there's the printer error one. It really wouldn't make sense to manually send that, but it does show up inside of this send email list. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that you can manually send your emails this way, whether they're a part of an event, you guys, or not. So that's the way to get those. And then one more thing I want to show you here is you can do a test. That changes the bottom half of your screen. I could send this. You could override, I could put an email address in here, but if I leave it blank, it'll use the to line. I'm going to use this lab order received email. It'll use the to line that's a part of this, the macro. And as long as there's an email address in there to actually send this test to, then this will get returned. The value is 1, which means that it was successful. Says who it sent to, who it sent from. Because of my from line, I'm saying pull in the lab information from lab info on the admin tab. Looks like there's an attachment as part of it, and these are the parameters that get passed through the HTTP server. So, and then once you do open up this test on the bottom of your screen, you guys, I want to show you that this close button then kind of gets you back to what was here before. So, depending on how wide or narrow you make the screen, sometimes your macros for selecting your to, your from, your blind copies, whatever, your reply tos are down here, or they get extended over here. Here's your subject line. So this is the type of information, including attachments, that you store. Oh, that one didn't have an attachment, as part of your email records. All right, so now what I'll do is I'll open this one because it is pretty loaded. I think it's a good one to kind of use as an example. Well, an empty one's a good one to use as an example too, but I just double clicked on that. It opened up in the HTML preview window. I'll close this just to kind of keep things clean. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we're seeing the results returned from dp2's web server. The HTML, the dynamic content is being returned based on this last order. Tom, I think it was Tom Aplin that recently wrote in here just to pull up your last order ID in the lab, you guys, just so that you have something in that parameters field that's testable and usable when you're, accessing these emails. If you expand the left-hand side of this HTML preview, there's a description here. It assists in adding dynamic data to your HTML reports and emails. I'm concentrating on some email examples, but you do have categories here, guys, for the lab reports that are part of dp2 and the ones that you have customized. So a few lines at the top to be, interested in keeping here, whether you copy one of ours or whether you create a pretty much bare bone empty one. This is the class that it needs to be included. This is creating the object-oriented functions that you see down here, o.customer field name, and so on. And then this is the line that passes off those parameters for your last order ID. Now, it's perfectly fine for you guys to do your adding and testing and changing these KPL features over here and pasting and deleting something and then saving it. So you can work in this HTML preview, but I know I can tell many of you on the line, you would much rather work in Notepad++, or you might like to work in an HTML WYSIWYG editor. So here's the, I'm up in this, I just want to give you a second to follow my cursor, which you can't probably see very well, but all of these functions over here will have a tooltip, so use those. I'm going to turn this live function on now because I'm about to open this up in Notepad++. And when I make changes in there, I want to save it. And because this live checkbox is selected, it'll automatically update the results that are returned over here. For an HTML editor, maybe for a WYSIWYG editor, rather, maybe Dreamweaver or something, or your choice, you could hold down the control key and hit HTML, and that will allow you to, I have CMonkey on mine too that I use, but you could use an HTML WYSIWYG editor. This class is not an HTML class, so I'll type some in, I'll paste some in. It's really a class that's designed to show you, these tools, these emails in dp2, the HTML preview, how to find your KPL functions in the assistant. Haven't even opened up the assistant, but it is just that, is an assistant to help you find the right content via the right KPL command to return the right content in your email. So let me choose edit, and I will open up my Notepad++ window opens up to the previous size. So I like to have it sized to take up that left-hand side of the HTML preview window so that, we can see results over here. So let's start to dive into this and dissect this a little bit, you guys. I think it is a good way to learn and see what we have in here by default and make some changes in here because you very well may not be storing your information in the fields that we have identified in some of our sample emails. So the first thing that we have here, this one probably makes sense, is to pull the name from the customer table, which in this KPL function definition is customer field inside of open paren, close paren. All of these are comments. In fact, let me go to my HTML language here and get some kind of color-coded assistance. Green is for comments, but the dp2 server looks for interesting things in the comments like this KPL. So that's really what's happening inside of the comment. You can see other things, like information that's commented out inside of the comment as well. But the server, the dp2 server, does look for interesting things, and those interesting things are identified with KPL that's here. So this one might make a world of sense. Let me get rid of the word that that says test and watch what happens. So this is the live preview on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm in Notepad++. I'll save it with the disk icon or Control S, and now that has been removed. So, you know, you might want to change, obviously, some of the language. Thank you for your order received on, and maybe that's some date. You know, I'll replace that with, you know, the macro for some date, but I just wanted to have that in there just to kind of show you as a placeholder. And then there's a macro in here, or a KPL function rather, that is looking inside of an order field for customer order ID. And that's what's being returned here. I want to show you guys that because that might not be a field that you're using. So inside of the order data table is this customer order ID field. And this really is all about, you guys know where your data is. If you know where your data is, then we will help you find the KPL function to pull it out of that location. But in many cases, guys, you know it's going to be a customer field or an order field. You just have to know what the field name is. You'd have to know where to get the right function. And in some cases, the right function is already going to be in your email template to get you started. But so let's say you don't have, you know, anything in there. So I'll save that with nothing in there. Maybe this is the ID, the order ID that you would really want to include in your email. So if I save this now, it says, thank you for your order received on such and such date. I've not put a function in there yet. But there was this formatting in here that basically if that customer order ID field is null, what it's doing is it's just removing all those spaces in front of the period. So this is good, I think, to have this working example. You might, you know, want to include some formatting in yours as well. So let's say I want the order ID, and this won't return anything at first. I want to just kind of show you here. Let's say I think that that field name is order ID that I'm really storing test 005 in. And if I save it, it's like, oh, well, it didn't return anything. This is a good time for this assistant when you need to know, you know, what the real field name is in the database. You know that it's a field inside of the orders table. So this is, you know, telling us it's a field inside of the order table over here that I have highlighted in green. But down here in the assistant, I'll type in an O. That'll take me to the tables in the database. You guys are used to these dp2 tables. Maybe you go to SQL maintenance inside of dp2 to traditionally look up, you know, what the real field name is. So it's really nice to have this right inside of this HTML assistant tool. It does exactly what the label says it's going to do for you. It's a great assistant to give you the information that you're looking for. And we can see here that it's really ID. It's not order ID. So if I come over here, I'll carefully get rid of what is not required there. And then we have the test 005 here. I could probably make a good assumption that the date, right, is in the order field date. Let me show you over here how you're going to find these KPL functions. From this drop down, you can see I'm in the assistant now, just drawing your attention to where I am. I'm going to go to the email class. In fact, if you remember when I showed you over here on the left-hand side in Notepad++, I was showing you this include command to include the W email class, because that's pretty much has everything. Your formatting, your order, your order fields, your customer fields, your date fields, formatting fields, a lot of fields that you're going to need, and functions that you're going to need, because they're not just always singular fields, you guys. Sometimes they're like functions like this, you know, buyer summary shipping or shipping summary. And I'll show you the code that here that really expands to like several fields, like this shipping summary function really expands to all of these fields, and that's a natural, that's a part, a coded part of that particular function. But let me stay focused a little bit more on getting this date you know, replaced in here. So let's say I want to filter on, I want an order, you know, I want an order field. So I'm in the email class. I typed order in the filter on, and then that in turn really drives what's in this pretty long drop down if I don't have anything that I'm filtering on. So here's a lot of formatting options. That's where that pre-pen that I showed you over here can be found. Here's the function to pull in an order field. So you'll use this one all the time. You'll use your customer one all the time. That's why I'm kind of highlighting and honing in on these two tables, customer table and order table. Here's the function. So just by the nature of selecting it, and here it is, this is a description, echoes the value of field name from the orders table. It's on my clipboard. So I'm just going to come over here and select date and paste that in. And I'm going to assume that the field name is date, and I'll save it. And again, I'm going to be wrong because it's not date, it's order date. So if we come down here somewhere in the table is order date. So hopefully you guys are kind of seeing, I know I'm going back and forth a lot, you know, between Notepad++, between using the assistant, right, to find the function, to find the field name. Oh, I should have showed you here, guys, that when you do select it from down here, now that field name, the database field, maybe said that too quickly. I'm down at the bottom half of this HTML assistant now. Now by selecting this, that's what's on my clipboard. So if I paste now, the first time I pasted this KPL function was on my clipboard, so I pasted that in, and now this order date field was on my clipboard, so I pasted that in. I'll save that, and then that successfully gets returned. And, you know, obviously maybe I clean this up, you know, your order number is blah, 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 and I save that. Okay, let's dissect this a little bit more. You might not use these. Buyer summary fields in the order data table, shipping summary fields in the order data table. This is where I'm going to have a few things open, you guys. I'm going over to select my order data table just so that I can show you. You know, we put a lot of these fields in here for KC2. So there are ship to fields inside of the order data table. There are buyer fields inside of the order data table. So you might not be using these now for some of your, you know, third-party order entry systems that are feeding dp2 or your proprietary system, but you may choose to, knowing that these fields are here. So I don't have anything in these buyer fields. That's why, you know, there's some space in this part of the report, because obviously if I'm not using those fields, it doesn't cause any harm, but it does create an extra, you know, line feed there. So I could take those out if I'm definitely not going to use those, and zip that up a little bit. But let's say you're not using those fields either. You know, let's say those are all coming from your customer table. So, you know, this may be traditionally the place where you're storing your ship to address information for a customer. So depending on where you're storing it, obviously you have the answers to where your data resides, and then we're helping you with the HTML assistant finding those right fields, the right field names. But now that I already have, for example, you know, this order function in this report, it's kind of nice where I can just copy that, and I'll leave this shipping information there, and I'll just start pasting these lines in here. And oh, actually I don't want order at all, I want customer. So I want to grab this one because I just confirmed with you that, you know, my ship to information might be in the customer. So let me just add some fixed text here. This order will ship to, I'll give a line feed here just for example's sake. So then I could start, you know, you get the drill already, just copying and pasting this here. this will be street, for example. And then, of course, this would be street. You guys know now that, of course, you could come over here and find, you know, the right name. This is now I'm now in the customer table. So let me just lock and load this in case I need to look up anything. And here's a list of the fields, the real database field names inside of the customer table, and so on and so forth. I can't really talk and type very well, so I have a couple of different formats in this example here. I'm just going to copy these over, you guys, and I'll paste a couple of different kind of table views of pulling it from the customer table. I'll save this, and now I'm basically just repeating, guys, the same information in a couple of different ways. One is housed inside of a table, but basically these two sections of the email are all pulling from the customer table because these are the customer functions that I called in. This shipping summary is pulling from the order table. Let me show you how you would know that. Like if you come across this, you know, command or this KPL function, how do you know like what it's really doing, you know, other than obviously seeing it over here, but I can see it over here because I actually have contents inside of those fields. Let me filter on it over here so I can show you guys. So now I'm on this filter on field. Let me get shipping summary. So it's inside of the order class, which is a part of this email class. And if you choose this E, there's C to copy the macro. E will open the file containing this particular function or macro, and it takes you right to, in this case, the word class file. Takes me right to that function, and then you can really dissect it and see, oh, well, I can tell they're pulling from the order field, the ship to name, the address, the city, and the state. So you know where it's coming from. So guys, it's a long list. It's a long list of functions. If I don't filter on anything, I mean, it's a long list of formatting functions, order functions, different functions. And so I can't really, obviously I can't explain all that's here, but you guys can have some fun. Hopefully, I'm preparing you to be dangerous and have some fun, right? And then we will help you get to what you need by finding the right function, by knowing where your data is. You can, in most cases, probably copy and paste from another customer or order function and just change the name field. So I know it's a lot of information, you guys. How are you doing? Can you give me a hands up on that if you're feeling pretty okay about it? All right, we're almost to our end time. We're right at 1:44. So what I wanted to do to just kind of wrap this up, you guys, is I just wanted to take you back to the events category. Let me just do this in this last minute here. Probably ran out of live question times, you guys. I'll open up phone lines so we can say goodbye to each other in just a minute. But let me just take you to Event Manager, because if your email is part of one of your events, let's say I have this order received email that traditionally was using the generic one that comes with dp2. Well, now that I've customized one, a lab order, received email, I'll go to order related. I'll go to order emails, order received. Here's the lab order received. So this is how you could now update this action, which is the KPL for an event. And that's, remember, only if your emails are a part of an event. Your emails don't have to be a part of an event to work. One other thing I'll show you guys is under the help menu in dp2, there's a link right to dp2 service desk in the help menu. It's really handy. It's really cool. I'm not logged in that way. So let me get there a quicker way and show you a different way that I can get there. yeah, here I am, dp2 service desk. And I just want to show you, oops, that's not it either, you guys. I'm showing you the wrong place here. I'm showing you our internal service desk. Here it is. So this is what yours would look like, where you can report a problem or request training as a result of this. Ask your questions in that question box in this kind of last minute here. I just clicked on a micro learning session link. This is where you can find links to up and coming sessions. We'll have a couple more up there really soon. It's where you can find links to the videos, and I'll have this video posted up here by tomorrow, you guys, for your reference. So take this session for what it's worth. I really hope that it helped to whet your appetite. Thank you. I really hope it was helpful. It's great to connect with you guys during these sessions, and I hope to catch you on another one really soon. So thanks for your time, guys. Have fun getting back to work. Take care. Talk to you again.